The envelope arrives on a Tuesday. No return address. Your name spelled correctly, middle initial included, in ink so precise it doesn't look like a hand wrote it. Inside, 3 words in Hebrew. A time, a location, nothing else. You've been waiting for this since you were 22 years old. You told no one you applied. You told no one about the interviews, the psychological evaluations, the polygraphs, the weeks of silence that followed, when you were certain they'd chosen someone else. You show up at the address, a nondescript office building in Tel Aviv. No signage. A man in his 40s meets you at the door. He doesn't shake your hand. He just says, "Come inside." The door closes behind you. This is where it begins. Level 01. The recruit. You don't know what you don't know. You are nobody yet. That's the first thing they want you to understand. Whatever you were before. Military officer, analyst, engineer, linguist. You leave it at the door. The Mossad does not inherit your identity. It creates a new one. The selection process is called Mirsham, but no one explains what it means until later. All you know is that for the next several weeks, you will be evaluated in ways you can't prepare for. Memory tests. Stress interviews where 2 handlers contradict each other deliberately, just to watch how you react. Role-playing scenarios where the right answer is never obvious and the wrong answer is always worse than saying nothing. You learn quickly, silence is an answer. Hesitation is data. Every room is a test. Your cohort has maybe 12 people. You don't exchange last names. You don't ask about background. There's an unspoken understanding that some of you won't make it to the next phase, and that the ones who do will pretend the others never existed. You pass the first week on instinct, the second week on discipline. By the 3rd week, you've stopped thinking about whether you'll make it. You're just doing the next thing. That's when they start to notice you. 80% of recruits wash out before month 2. You don't think about that number. You make yourself not think about it. The training facility feels like a university, except nobody here is studying anything they can discuss outside these walls. Your instructors are men and women who look unremarkable. That, you will understand later, is the entire point. The most dangerous people in a room never announce themselves. At night, you lie on a narrow bed and stare at the ceiling. You think about your family. Your friends who think you took a government desk job. Your mother, who has no idea where you actually are. The very first time, you feel the shape of the life you've chosen. How small everything else is about to become. You tell yourself it's worth it. You believe it. You're supposed to believe it. That's why they picked you. Level 02. The case officer trainee. Learning the architecture of deception. You make it through. 8 of your original 12 do. The 4 who didn't are never mentioned again. Now the real training begins. Not tradecraft as a concept, tradecraft as muscle memory. You learn surveillance detection routes, how to walk through a city in a way that forces anyone following you to expose themselves. You run SDRs in Tel Aviv, in Paris, in a fictionalized version of a Beirut neighborhood reconstructed inside a warehouse. You run them until your feet know the rhythms before your brain does. You learn how to build a legend. A cover identity isn't just a fake name and a passport. It's a life, a childhood, a profession, habits, a hometown you can describe in sensory detail at 3 a.m. when someone is pressing you hard. The Mossad doesn't give you a legend. They teach you to construct one. Because a story you built yourself is harder to break than one you were handed. You spend 3 weeks being someone named David Hollander, a Swiss import-export consultant. You answer to that name. You dream as that man. When they tell you the exercise is over, it takes you a full day to remember who you actually are. This bothers you less than it should. You also learn the fundamentals of recruiting assets. Human intelligence, HUMINT, is the Mossad's core business. Satellites and signals are for other agencies. The Mossad gets close to people. Your job, eventually, will be to find individuals with access to things Israel needs to know, and to make them want to help you. Not to bribe them. Not to threaten them. To make them want to. You tell yourself you're protecting your country. That's true. But there's another truth running underneath: you're good at this. The manipulation, the patience, the long game. You're very good at it. And some part of you that you don't examine too closely is glad. Level 3. The division head. You are the system now. 30 years. 3 decades of accumulated operations, contacts, intelligence, compromise, loyalty, and quiet violence in service of a state that will never publicly acknowledge half of what you've done. You run a division of over 100 people. Your decisions directly shape Israel's understanding of its most existential threats. When the Prime Minister receives an intelligence briefing, the underlying architecture of that briefing, the sources, the methodology, the verification chains, flows through you. You don't meet assets anymore. You design the networks that meet them. You don't plan operations. You approve them, or you don't, with a nod across a conference table. The operatives who execute those missions are 20 years younger than you and still believe, the way you once believed, that they are the sharp edge of something righteous. You know they are. You also know what it costs them. You know because you remember what it cost you, and you chose them anyway. That knowledge lives in a part of you that you no longer visit socially. You have lost 3 officers in the field during your tenure as division head. You attended no funerals, their deaths were operationally sensitive, their identities protected even in death. You received the notifications via secure channel. You read them. You filed them. You moved to the next item on the agenda. If you felt grief, you scheduled it for later. Later has not arrived yet. You have a small circle, 2 former colleagues, 1 old friend from university who asks no questions. You run 4 kilometers every morning. You read history in the evenings. You sleep 6 hours. You do not talk about your work to anyone outside SCIF. You have not talked about how you actually feel about your work in so long. The Mossad is not something you do anymore. It is something you are. The seam between Marcus Fleisch and the person you were born as dissolved so long ago that searching for it feels like archaeology in your own body.